Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Flame Emperor episode number 358 based on novel. So let's start. Lord Xiao Yan, thousands of meters ahead is the Tinuan mountains where the princess lives. There are hundreds of thousands of vassal subjects in the Tinuan mountains, and there are many forces. These guys are all loyal ministers who support the princess. The towering mountains in his heart laughed. Everyone had just stepped past the guards of Tianqing City and entered it, but Xiao Yang found out that this so-called Tianqing City was just a warning on the outermost layer. The houses at the bottom of the 13 mountain ranges are mostly guard residences used for patrolling. The core of Skystar City is the vast 13 mountain ranges. It is equivalent to 1/5 of Zhuangtianshan, which shows how huge these 13 mountain ranges are. The third mountain range, this girl is quite powerful if you don't see it. Xiao Yang looked away and found that in these mountain ranges, many obscure auras emerged, even the auras of some old monsters, which made one's heart palpitate, and the fact that this princess can live on the third mountain range undoubtedly proves the potential and prestige of this girl. Go! They looked at each other and walked directly, but at this time, everyone was like ants walking at the bottom of the cliff. The Tianqing City at the bottom of the mountain range was surrounded by huge mountains that towered into the clouds. The ground of Tianqing City and the top of the mountain range were about 100 meters apart. The distance made everyone seem extremely small. It's a little weird. Xiao Yang's soul power dissipated, and he suddenly noticed that a not weak force was slowly coming towards them, and said in surprise. Skystar City is just a few houses and city walls standing at the bottom of the 13 mountain ranges, so the sight is dim. Haha, isn't this Lord Lin Qingwen, such a coincidence? After a while, Xiao Yang and the others moved forward a little distance, and suddenly saw a man approaching. The man was wearing gorgeous clothes, and at a glance, he knew that he was a member of the royal family. Our people. Xiao Yang was not surprised, he just turned his head and asked Lin Qingwen. The warning in his voice was too obvious. No. Sir Xiao Yang, this guy is the subordinate of Prince Linfeng in the 4th mountain range. He has been arrogant and domineering in the entire Tianqing City, relying on his 5-star Dozian consummate strength and his relationship with a little bit of royal blood. Lin Qingwen shook his head and said, obviously this guy in front of him is quite annoying, but the victory is that this guy is very strong, and there is Linfeng behind him, so they are not easy to turn their faces. 5-star fighting immortals is a complete Linhai. Xiao Yang shook his head helplessly. Sir, this place is no better than Tianmu City. Here, please hide your strength. This is not only for the sake of the princess, but also for the adults. Looking at Xiao Yang's smile, Lin Qingwen really felt an awe-inspiring killing intent. But still in a low voice. Xiao Yang is a soul hall powerhouse who has truly killed a 6-star Dozian perfection level. In Xiao Yang's eyes, this area is a complete 5-star Dozian. Naturally, it is no different from an ant. That's right, then play with you. After raising his head and looking around these mountains, Xiao Yang also knew Lin Qingwen's good intentions and laughed. Although he only has the midterm strength of the 5-star fighting immortal, he is not inferior to the real 5-star fighting immortal without using the means of swallowing the flames and amber rock soul fire. This is the new territory that Prince Linfeng has just entered. If you want to pass from here, I am afraid you will have to pay a lot of money. Seeing Xiao Yang motionless, Linhai's sharp eyes flickered, and he said softly, Linhai, don't be presumptuous, this is the guest of the 7th princess. If you insist on blocking and wasting the 7th princess's precious time, you know the consequences. Lin Qingwen said sternly. Yeah, I know the consequences, but you don't have that chance. As Lin Qingwen's voice fell, Linhai suddenly laughed. After a while, the dim road and the 100-meter space were completely covered with lush trees. With the appearance of this wood attribute domain, Lin Qingwen's aura suddenly dropped, and even a strong aura of life came out abundantly. Wood attribute. It's actually a terrifying means to suppress the fire attribute in my body faintly. Xiao Yang said in surprise. Linhai, what are you doing? Lin Qingwen growled when he saw Linhai's strange behavior. As ordered by the prince, to kill the disciples who harmed the 7th princess, am I right, Xiao Yang? At this moment, Linhai suddenly hid his whereabouts, and his voice came from the countless trees. Just because of this. Although I haven't seen the so-called Prince Linfeng, this kind of behavior is really disgusting. If you want to kill me, let that dog come over in person. Just like you, don't come out and be ashamed. Xiao Yang didn't take it seriously. The ancient ruler of eternal fire appeared behind him, and smiled indifferently. Even though this wood attribute field has a lot of suppression on him, the fire attribute in his body has been purified by holy flames. The power of fire attribute vindictiveness alone is more than 10 times that of wood attribute power. Therefore, this kind of battle is quite unsuspense. A sharp-toothed boy. The art of wood grows like crazy. Seeing Xiao Yang's arrogant tone, Linhai shouted, and suddenly a green beam filled the 100-meter field. For a time, these trees turned out to be growing rapidly. In a short time, it was nearly 100 meters long, and it was vaguely about to reach the halfway of the mountain range. The seal of the Heavenly King. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang did not hesitate. He clasped his palms together. Strange and extremely bright rays of light, like the shining sun, roared towards Linhai. The level of attack power was so tyrannical that it might be enough to hit Linhai. Seriously injured. Good come. Mu Yushanbi. Seeing Xiao Yang's tyrannical attack, Linhai didn't have any fear, instead he smiled slightly. Crash. As soon as Linhai's voice fell, the surrounding trees suddenly rose from the ground and moved directly towards his body, and vaguely turned into a giant green wall of light, like a stubborn stone. Linhai's body was completely wrapped. Boom. The Heavenly King's seal slammed into it. With its tyrannical attacking power, a conspicuous groove was carved out of the green light pattern wall. Unfortunately, in the end, the bright seal light slowly disappeared in the green light pattern. On the wall. It seems that the wood attribute of the star continent can be well known. It is not unreasonable. Seeing that Linhai received his rather tyrannical blow so easily, Xiao Yang stepped on the ground of the domain and smiled slightly, but for Linhai the wood attribute field that was cast was filled with a hint of curiosity. What is the difference between this guy's wood attribute and other powerhouses? Why is his attack soft and weak like hitting cotton when it hits it? Good boy, quite good attack power, but unfortunately I met the royal family in our star continent. Leaving the green light pattern wall at will, Linhai smiled and said, even if Xiao Yang's attack power is extremely strong, but he is also happy not afraid, not for anything else, just because he is the royal family of the Lin family. What's going on? The defensive light wall dissipated, and the wood properties in the space paved by the Forest Sea domain were flooded out, towering trees emerged one by one, and countless green leaves on the trees were blowing slightly, as if carrying a with a very special power. Xiao Yang looked at these strange green leaves of trees and muttered. Just relying on Xiao Yang's soul power, he knew that Linhai's wood attribute was different from anyone he had met before, and there should be some secrets about this guy's wood attribute. Sir, you don't know, the royal family in the Tianqing continent originally mastered the power of the stars, and the power of the stars was mysterious and unpredictable. It was the real eternal night method, but the power of the stars was interrupted. I just found some unique cultivation methods related to the wood attribute directly from the many treasures left by the ancient masters. I think the reason why this guy can ignore the attacks of adults should be related to this. Lin Qingwen thought for a while and said, this even on the star continent, the news was considered a rather obscure secret. Except for members of the royal family, it would be extremely difficult for ordinary forces to understand it clearly. Don't you? Xiao Yang suddenly asked, this Lin Qingwen can be considered a member of the royal family, why doesn't he have that kind of aura in his body? The subordinates are quite distant, so there is no. Lin Qingwen said here, ashamed, the so-called royal family is not enough to be a direct line after dozens of generations, the royal bloodline has been isolated too much, although it is also the royal family, but Lin Qingwen's existence is not enough. It is not recognized by Skystar City. Xiao Yang, accept the sanction. Linhai suspended above a towering green tree, and said with a grim smile. Just let you see what is the real Tianqing royal family and what is the wood attribute. Mu Ling, dance. Seeing Xiao Yang motionless, the corners of Linhai's mouth rose, and the green doqi energy in his body was like the force of the ocean, quickly filling the air, and immediately like spring rain, it gently poured the green color of the trees in the field. Above. After the breath, this green tree turned out to be a very pleasant sound, surging one after another, the green buzzing, and even roaring at Xiao Yang with a hostility, and it became crazy and violent. These trees all have life, and their aura has become violent. What a clever method. At this moment, Xiao Yang understood something. Presumably, the reason why the royal family of Tianqing continent's wood attribute can be far ahead of other regional powerhouses, it should be Linhai in front of him, similar to a special method that can bring trees to life. Life, a few simple words, but the means contained in them are terrifying. Just imagine, an ordinary tree has no lethal power, but what if there are dozens or hundreds of trees? Once it is life-enhanced, it has the wisdom to see life, and the aura of violence is added. That kind of offensive is heart-pounding. Boom. At this moment, Linhai's breath was a little sluggish, but he didn't need to do it now. The trees in the field were restless at this moment, and then the roots of the trees moved rapidly, and in a blink of an eye, a line was formed. The lightning-like formation formed Xiao Yang's surrounding water, and a touch of depression filled Xiao Yang's heart. What a meticulous approach. But you haven't mastered your strength yet. Big heavenly seed, scarlet flame sea of fire. Looking at the rapidly rotating trees around him, every rotation would bring out a suffocating wave. Xiao Yang didn't hesitate, waved his palm, and suddenly the red flame was like a volcanic eruption, swept out from Xiao Yang's body. How can this guy's fire attribute be so strong? At this moment, Linhai was extremely shocked. The 5 elements are mutually restrained, but it exists on the basis of the same strength. The fire attributes like Xiao Yang are no longer on the same level as the wood attributes, so Linhai was in a situation of being crushed for a while. Move the sky ruler. The two kept stalemate, and the rapidly rotating trees slowly slowed down under the invasion of Xiao Yang's sea of fire. Suddenly, a dazzling fiery red burst from the ancient ruler of eternal fire on Xiao Yang's palm. Power blesses the ruler, and an extremely tyrannical attack suddenly descends. Mu Lingyu. Seeing that he couldn't stop Xiao Yang's attack, Linhai could only use all his strength for defense. Die. This time, Xiao Yang's heavy ruler personally pierced through his defense and came to his side in an instant. The tip of the ruler touched Linhai's forehead, and just by waving it, he could completely obliterate him. Haha, such a vicious boy. The first time I came to Tianqing City, it was because I had such murderous intentions towards the children of the royal family. Let me arrest you and send you to the Tianshan Mountains to purify your soul. Just when Xiao Yang was about to kill Linhai, a soft voice carried an extremely terrifying power, and it filled the air. Old Lin. At this moment, Lin Qingwen's face became really solemn. Others don't know who the white-haired old man in front of him is, but he is very clear. Among the elders of the Tianshan Mountains, Lin Tinuan, although he is old, his strength is a genuine 7-star fighting immortal, and he is Lin Feng's true confidant. Old Lin raised his palm, and green vines appeared out of nowhere, only binding Xiao Yang. Old Lin, kill him. At this time, Linhai's expression also became strange. Just after fighting with Xiao Yang, he vaguely discovered that this guy didn't seem to use all his strength, but it was a pity that he met Mr. Lin. Follow me back to the Tianshan Mountains. Your life and death will be handed over to the prince to judge. After doing all this, Old Lin said softly, but the green vines on Xiao Yang's body flowed the vindictive energy around him. Sealed, Xiao Yang at this time is like an ordinary person who has lost his strength. Girl, if I don't make a move, I will be miserable. Xiao Yang did not have any fear about this, but said rather calmly, Old Lin. This man is the one whom Her Royal Highness the Princess personally named to protect. I'm afraid you can't take him away so easily. As Xiao Yang's voice fell, the space behind everyone shook, and a beautiful shadow filled the air. Out. The 6-star fighting immortal is complete. Although Tianqing continent is said to be rich in energy, it is much more tyrannical than Xianling continent, but there are only a few of the 6-star Dozian and the 7-star Dozian. After a while, it is because Xiao Yang has drawn out 2 strong men, which is enough to prove that Xiao Yang is this guy. Powerful vision for both sides. Lin Shuang. Elder Lin shook his head as he looked at the aggressive appearance of the old man. Although his strength has reached the early stage of the 7 stars fighting immortals, Lin Shuang, on the other hand, is a confidant who has been heavily cultivated by the 7th princess, and has even entered the forbidden area of the royal family. Therefore, Lin Laro did not dare to completely turn against him for a while. After all, whether it is from talent or words above all, he doesn't take the initiative. Starter. Let's go. He casually glanced at Xiao Yang and found that this guy was gloating at misfortune. Old Lin said coldly. But Mr. Lin, this guy? Linhai said, still not giving up. He was able to reach the 5-star Dozian consummation at a young age. Such talent and strength are rare in the entire Tianqing continent, but in front of this Xiao Yang, he was constantly shriveled, which really made him depressed. Let's go. As soon as the voice fell, the field dispersed, and Elder Lin took Linhai away from here. With the departure of Linhai and the others, the dim space at the bottom of the mountain range in Tianqing City regained its calm. Thank you, Lord Lin Shuang, for your help. The calm here was restored. Lin Qingwen and the others said with tears in their eyes. After all, if it wasn't for Lin Shuang's help, I'm afraid they would be in a bad situation, even if Xiao Yang had killed 6-star Dozian before. Completion powerhouses, but in their eyes, The Seoul Palace powerhouses and their royal powerhouses are obviously the latter. Let's go. I'm here to meet and guide you on the orders of the princess. Lin Shuang smiled slightly, and then said to Xiao Yang. After speaking, she immediately walked towards Xiao Yang, trying to untangle the vines that were imprisoning them with extremely tyrannical power. But I have to say that this Lin Shuang, although he is already middle-aged, but with a slender body and an often kind personality at that time, it is quite popular. Crack. Before she could do anything, the green vines were shattered by Xiao Yang. Oh! At this moment, Lin Shuang was a little surprised, her beautiful eyes beating slightly. The shackles of Lin Laro Chishing Dozian's strength are not simple. This mere 5-star Dozian midstage guy can be shattered so easily. It seems that he really underestimates him. No wonder he is the domain owner of Endless Fire Domain. Let's go. After shattering the green seal vines, Xiao Yang shrugged helplessly and went along with the Tinuan mountains. If it wasn't for Xiao Yang who wanted to explore the secret of the wood attribute in Linhai's body, I'm afraid this guy would not be able to make his own 10 moves. Of course, this is under the circumstance that Xiao Yang does not use all his strength. After all, now that the enemy is dark and we are clear, it is better to leave some means of pressing the bottom of the box to protect himself. Anyway, Xiao Yang is now relying on the mid-stage power of the 5-star fighting immortal to deal with the following 6-star fighting immortal. There is no problem with the strong. This is also Xiao Yang's biggest gain since his return from the ghost world. After a while, everyone successfully reached the Tinuan mountains. It's a very prosperous city, and living here for a long time is also a kind of enjoyment. On the way through the streets where people often go, looking at the dazzling buildings, Xiao Yang couldn't help but say that the atmosphere here is obviously much warmer. In the city at the top of the Tinuan mountains, there are countless street shops and people passing by in harmony, and there is a kind and amiable smile on the corners of the mouth, which makes people feel quite warm in their hearts. These are all thanks to Her Royal Highness. Lin Shuang said with relief. It seems that this princess really deserves her name. Xiao Yang said indifferently, being able to manage such a huge area in such an orderly manner, this princess has not been in vain in recent years. Sir, wait a moment, I'll go and inform the princess. Xiao Yang and Lin Shuang came to a restaurant, and Lin Shuang said immediately. The tea house was very lively, but there was obviously a secret passage leading directly to the princess's mansion. Lin Shuang disappeared immediately, leaving Xiao Yang alone. Forget it, go in and sit down. After taking a glance, Xiao Yang shook his head helplessly. He found a place with many people to sit down and ordered some tea to drink alone. He also knew that the status of the princess was aloof, and it was natural that these days were very difficult. It is necessary to be so careful. Hey! The recent election is coming up, and our Tianqing continent has changed its taste. Thinking of the prosperous appearance of Tianqing continent, there is a faint trend of surpassing Doyun continent. I really miss the peaceful scenery of the empire's rule. Who said it wasn't? However, how could the dignified emperor get sick for no reason, and it is a strange disease that countless genius doctors are helpless. Could it be? Most of the tea houses are people who come and go, so it is also the best place for information exchange. After all, among these guys, there are many powerful merchants and mercenaries, and they have a good understanding of intelligence. Little brother, these words still can't be said. After a while, a man slowly got up and laughed softly. The man is dressed in grey, and his eyebrows are filled with a faint elegance. At first glance, he looks like a handsome man with a spirit. Hey, I'll just say it casually. The figure who was questioned heard the words and grinned. He knew that these sensitive topics could not be brought to light in a special period, and the other people who were talking heard the words and smiled. Road. Hey, the fluctuations in this guy's body are really good, and there are even some strange powers, a little like Qinshin's breath. Xiao Yang was too lazy to answer, just wanted to take a break and listen to some recent civil intelligence. However, he sensed a familiar aura on this guy. Who is investigating me? After a while, the handsome man cast his gaze towards Xiao Yang, and he hesitated after sensing the dazzling power in Xiao Yang's body. Brother, have a drink. After a while, Xiao Yang took the refreshment in his hand, leaned over, smiled, and his eyes filled with a rather soft look. Okay. The handsome man just looked up, looked at Xiao Yang's dark pupils, and said slightly. For a while, the tea house resumed its own liveliness, and many figures talked about their own life and cultivation, which was quite harmonious. Your Excellency doesn't seem to be an aborigines in our star continent. The handsome man circled around and said, although Xiao Yang's face is normal, but the awe-inspiring aura on his body is extremely conspicuous. Some intuition, so it can be concluded. Why? Xiao Yang sipped his tea and asked in doubt. Our star continent residents, except for some special guys, most of them are weak in nature, but they don't have such a strong murderousness and vigilance. The handsome man said softly. It's really good eyesight. But you're also pretty good. The initial strength of the 5-star fighting immortals, plus some strange things on your body, Tianqing continent is really a genius. At this moment, Xiao Yang stared at the handsome man, word by word. The way. You. The handsome man frowned when he heard the words, as if he was facing a great enemy. He said vigilantly. Don't worry, I'm not malicious. Xiao Yang said. Then make friends. Ji Xian. The handsome man said softly. Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang said without shyness. Just as the two were talking, a blue-clothed guard slowly walked towards the table of the two, as if something had happened. In a hurry, let's go first, there will be an appointment later. After seeing this, Ji Xian clasped his fists and said that there was a slight rush, and then he left gracefully, but his eyes stayed on the guard for a while. It seemed quite meaningful. It seems that this guy not only has deep knowledge with the Tinuan mountains, but also deliberately avoids him at this time, which is interesting. Xiao Yang smiled. Your Excellency, please come with me. After Shun breathed, Xiao Yang followed the guard and headed towards the ground of the tea house. As for his identity, Xiao Yang did not have any weirdness, because the special wood attribute on his body, enough to prove his royal guard. And with the appearance of this scene, Xiao Yang and Ji Xian also met for the first time, and the next time they met, it would be the time of each other's real life and death, or even the time when the entire Tianqing continent changed. This is. When Xiao Yang followed the guard towards the bottom of the tea house, he asked inexplicably. My lord, the princess's palace is not here, the city on the top of the mountain is just a residence for common people and general forces. The guard said respectfully. Is there still such a thing? Xiao Yang asked as he walked. The princess's identity is different, and she is the hope of the star continent, so she is secretly protected by many powerhouses, so her palace stands above the void of this prosperous city, and the entrances are distributed in some hidden places in the city, and there are only many powerhouses. Know the entrance. Your Excellency is here, please. While speaking, the guard gently pushed open a rather ancient giant door in front of him and made a respectful gesture of please. The ancient giant gate is filled with traces of tiny words, which is obviously some kind of ancient prohibition. Yes. Xiao Yang agreed softly, without any hesitation, stepped directly into it. I hope you can help the princess to solve this matter. After the guards finished all this, they went back in peace. Wang buzzing. Xiao Yang had just stepped into the door of light. An extremely tyrannical force of confinement filled his body. That force was like a tree with a strong vitality, and it seemed that he was carefully examining his body. Some strange auras. I am afraid that this tyrannical force of imprisonment will unreservedly activate. Even Xiao Yang is quite horrified by that kind of power. Garden. The door of light in front of him flickered like a space shift. After the rest, Xiao Yang also appeared from another ray of light. Looking at the rather fragrant garden in front of him, he muttered. In front of it, there is clearly a huge garden, with countless flowers blooming brightly in the garden, and dozens of ancient buildings are integrated into it. However, the garden is obviously carefully carved by skilled craftsmen, surrounded by mountains and rivers, simple and elegant. Is it finally here? At this moment, on a pavilion in the endless sea of flowers in the garden, a figure looked at the edge of the garden and spoke softly, her voice as sweet and slim as Ingwan. While speaking, a strange silver power flashed past Xiao Yang's position like a star. Long time no see. After a while, Xiao Yang followed the beam and looked for him. Xiao Yang, I haven't seen you for a long time. Seeing Xiao Yang's hearty smile, Her Royal Highness said with a frown. I thought you had some secrets at first, but who would have thought that it was the princess of the Star Continent? Xiao Yang simply sat down in the pavilion and recalled. Looking back at the beginning, it seems that the princess in front of her is still like this, but at that time she was still a disciple who was cultivating in the Burning Heaven Pavilion. When I went to the Funxiang Pavilion, I naturally wanted to learn the cultivation method in the Funxiang Pavilion, and by the way, stabilize the things in my body. Lin Yunshu also spoke slowly, recalling the scene at the beginning. It was both ridiculous and a little fortunate. After I left the Xianling continent, I would like to thank you for the affairs on the Xianling continent. After a while, Xiao Yang's dark pupils also softened. Obviously, if it wasn't for Lin Yunshu's secret concern about the resources and force of the Xianling continent support, Xianling continent is impossible to be so prosperous. It's just a lot of work. After all, it's my teacher, so I can't know what's going on. For a while, Rao's noble attitude, like Princess Lin Yunshu, was also touched by Xiao Yang's words. Did something happen recently? After chatting for a while, Xiao Yang also asked with concern. Since she sent someone to the Xianling continent to find her, it was naturally impossible for it to be a trivial matter. As you know. At this moment, Lin Yunshu frowned, but his beautiful eyes were fixed on a rather classical building in the garden, and a trace of melancholy and even fear permeated. Crash. Following Lin Yunshu's actions, a scorching flame spread out from Xiao Yang's body, easily wrapping the entire pavilion. Acacia Yenyu completely wrapped the two of them, making it impossible for the outside world to detect them. Following Xiao Yang's sudden scene, an aura of awe emanated from the building that Lin Yunshu was staring at just now, as if a giant dragon had awakened. My lord, this is the princess's private matter, and I hope you. At this time, the rockery around the garden trembled, and Lin Shuang suddenly said, I hope this girl won't do anything bad. As soon as the voice fell, the place regained its calm for a while. Princess, I can only win this step for you. As soon as this light voice came out, Lin Shuang was relieved and slowly dispersed to hide in the garden, always ready to protect Her Royal Highness. It seems that the matter is more serious than I imagined. The scene outside the field just now was naturally caught in Xiao Yang's eyes, and he hesitated. Yeah. Fortunately, you're here. At this moment, Lin Yunshu dissipated his dignified and elegant posture like a relieved fish, like an ordinary woman sitting quietly on the pavilion, quite playful. What's going on? Xiao Yang asked. As you know, in our royal family now, 3 electors are fighting openly and secretly, each forming a gang. Although I have awakened the power of stars that no one has ever had, it is still too weak to make me completely suppress the villains of Tianqing continent. Moreover, many high-level officials in the Tinuan mountains seem to have placed me in the 10,000 gardens, but in fact they are protecting me, but they are secretly imprisoning me, because they are also trying to tame me as a chess piece in their hands, allowing me to successfully compete for the throne. Even it's the last thing to capture the power of the stars in my body. Lin Yunshu said with a sigh of relief. Obviously she already knew about these things, but she couldn't say it because she was here. Starter. Are all of them here? Xiao Yang frowned when he heard the words. As early as when he entered the Wanyuan garden, he noticed a lot of hidden auras. Among those auras, the presence of a few people made him feel quite troublesome. About 40% of the combat power has all surrendered to me, but there is still 60% of the power, and among these 6 layers of power, there are several who have the absolute right to speak. Lin Yunshu muttered. Internal and external troubles, it seems that this matter is troublesome. Xiao Yang also felt a rather troublesome smell in his voice, and his scalp suddenly became numb. Now that you are here, I will hold an internal meeting tomorrow. Only by thoroughly solving the internal problems can we fight the enemy together. Lin Yunshu said in a low voice. Okay. Xiao Yang nodded, agreeing with Lin Yunshu's approach, but now he can only use soldiers to block the water and cover up. Originally, I just planned to give Xianling continent some resources and force to protect my master, but unexpectedly I caught a big fish. Am I right, Lord of Endless Fire Territory? After the troubles were resolved, Lin Yunshu suddenly became beaming. Don't worry, based on our friendship, we will definitely not let you down. Xiao Yang also smiled. He also wanted to see what the so-called top high level inside the Tinuan mountains really had. Place. However, Xiao Yang still felt that this Princess Lin Yunshu seemed to have some connection with the Ji Shen he had seen before, but he didn't ask. The next day, the sun in the garden was like fire, and the countless flowers were dazzling. Is your lord up? His Royal Highness has sent me to take you to the main hall to attend today's meeting. It was Lin Shuang who had guided Xiao Yang yesterday. Lin Shuang was considered to be a very important member of the princess's side in terms of strength and loyalty, which also showed that the princess valued Xiao Yang. Let's go. As soon as Lin Shuang finished speaking, Xiao Yang pushed open the door and walked out. Today's Xiao Yang put on a rather elegant cyan robe, and the ancient ruler of the fire was put away, his breath was hidden, and he still looked like an ordinary person. A few minutes later, Lin Shuang led Xiao Yang through the garden to the main hall. Huarue Hall, here is the palace where Her Royal Highness Princess Lin Yunshu lives. The palace is quite huge, and the predecessor of the palace is a huge conference room, which is used to hold some more grand meetings. The whole conference room is decorated with countless luxurious amethyst agate, full of magnificent atmosphere. His Royal Highness, why hasn't the guy you mentioned come yet? Could it be 0-hour stage fright? At this time, a total of 8 figures stood quietly on the seats in the conference room, and a middle-aged man at the end sneered. These 8 people are all middle-aged or grey-haired old men, But these guys are all outstanding people who support Her Royal Highness. The strength of 8 people, the weakest is also in the 6-star Dozian, and even the powerhouse of the 7-star Dozian level. In the Tianqing continent, the 7-star Dozian powerhouse can already be regarded as a strategic resource, but there are only 3 of the 8 people. He is a loyal supporter of Her Royal Highness the Princess. Although the other 5 people are also supporting the princess, they all have bad intentions, and it is one of the 5 who speaks. Linhai, the late 6-star fighting immortal, is the powerhouse in charge of daily affairs in the Tinuan mountains. Linhai, this is not your Lin mansion, this is the Princess Palace. Suddenly, another woman in red glanced lightly and spoke indifferently, but that kind of terrifying power made the hearts of the strong present a little shock. 7-star fighting immortal. This fierce breath made their hearts shudder like a cold wind. Linhai, what are you worried about? Her Royal Highness naturally has her own way. Watching the woman in red exit, the second white-haired old man gently opened his eyes and circled around. Sir Xiao Yan is here. Just when the smell of gunpowder was extremely strong in the conference room, a light voice came from outside the conference room. I'm sorry for making you wait for a long time. Xiao Yan laughed heartily, and without stopping, he went straight to his seat and sat down. Now that everyone has arrived, the meeting will begin. Boom. With a sound, Princess Lin Yunshu slowly rose from the throne with a noble gesture, and for a while, a touch of silver energy easily completely enveloped the entire conference room. The power of the stars. Seeing Her Royal Highness's handwriting, the 9 people in the conference room were all surprised. The power of the stars is mysterious and unpredictable, and this princess is truly gifted. All of you are the elders of the royal family, or the minds of the top forces in our Tinuan mountains. We have summoned everyone today, and everyone must have guessed the meeting. Princess Lin Yunshu's beautiful eyes glanced around slightly, and finally her eyes stayed on the red clothes. As for the woman, these 3 are her absolute loyal supporters, so she is confident enough to preside over this meeting. His Royal Highness, the subordinates are unknown, please let Her Royal Highness speak clearly. At this time, the entire conference room was quiet for a while, then Linhai and the 4 figures around him looked at each other, and then spoke to the princess. In the voice it turned out to be full of a hint of oppression. Today's purpose is naturally to unite the power of our Tinuan mountains. Only by resolving internal concerns can we be unanimous. The princess said softly. Since the princess has already said it for this sake, then we will not hide it. The strength in our hands is more tyrannical than the other 2 factions. As long as Her Royal Highness promises us, after the event is completed, you will give us the source of the stars, and we will naturally let Her Royal Highness obtain the real throne in the fastest time. Lin Hao seemed to be instructed by the other 4, and he spoke word by word. The power of the stars is related to the treasure left by the founder of the star continent. How can it be given to you who have no royal blood? Hearing Lin Hao's words, Lin Yunshu smiled slightly without any fear. Her Royal Highness, don't forget, the power in the hands of the 5 of us occupies a quarter of the entire Sky Star continent. At this time, Lin Hao couldn't help but murmured. Obviously, this Lin Yunshu has been since Xiao Yang. When she arrived, it seems to have become different, and she has become more courageous. At the beginning, her decision to the 5 of her was only a promise, but now she looks like this. Don't be angry, everyone, I have a solution, I don't know if it is feasible or not. At this time, Xiao Yang stood up and smiled slowly at everyone. Oh, Your Excellency, what's your best trick? Lin Hao also didn't know why, and suddenly looked at Xiao Yang in surprise. It's better to hand over the power you have in your hands to us. What you dare not do, we will help you. Xiao Yang was like a demon, and the smile that filled the corners of his mouth made everyone's heart shudder, even the provocative aura. Inobvious, however. Crack. Bold man. You can't find death. Hearing Xiao Yang's arrogant words, Lin Hao's face changed drastically, and a wave of hatred emerged, wishing to smash Xiao Yang's body into 10,000 pieces. Little guy, you said that you are the lord of the endless fire territory, but this is the Tianqing continent. It would be too arrogant to say such words here. So let's stay. Softly, a rare smile contained a threat of death. Do it. For a while, Lin Yunshu also knew that the opportunity was fleeting, and snorted coldly. Tian Yuan Wei? 6-star fighting immortal brother Lin Yu. You, what are you doing? As Her Royal Highness's voice fell, dozens of guards in silver armor and some powerful confidants rushed out of the originally empty conference room. 6-star Doshin late stage? Holy flame! The 5 of them were just about to launch a counterattack, But when they saw the amber flame on Xiao Yang's body and the sudden surge in strength, they were dumbfounded for a while. Who would have thought that the domain master of this endless fire domain actually has such a mighty force? Go ahead, you must tear this place apart. Since you can't control it, let's replace it. Seeing this intensifying scene, the 7-star fighting immortal old man among the 5 said lightly, "Don't worry, you guys don't have a chance box of 10,000 woods." Seeing that the 5 were about to attack, Lin Yunshu smiled slowly at Xiao Yang. The box appeared in the princess's slender hand, and even the appearance of the box of Rui Zi, the wood attribute in the body of the strong person present, dimmed a bit. "Calm me down, holy flame fire." For a while, just as the 5 of them had just started, Xiao Yang's amber flames filled the air, restraining him for a while, unable to move. Sea of stars, 10,000 withered trees. After a while, the delicate green box on Lin Yunshu's palm was thrown into the air, and his handprint squirmed rapidly. "You dare to steal the national treasure. Capital offense. This is a death sentence." Looking at the princess surrounded by green light and the power of stars, the wood-type fighting chi in the 5 people was like a deflated balloon, draining rapidly. All of them gave up resistance for a while, and their pupils were filled with a sigh of relief. An unbelievable look. They know that they may not be able to retreat today, because they themselves are wood attributes, and the power of this national treasure can easily imprison and exile them, so this seemingly grand meeting has turned into a single the crushing of the aspect, or the conspiracy of Her Royal Highness. Even now, they still can't imagine that Her Royal Highness, who was controlled by them like a puppet in the past, actually has such a fierce means. This video will end here.